Hello, U.S. history students. This is Mr. Goldberg, and as you can see here, there's a picture of the clock tower at UNC. I actually went over there to look for some books about Andrew Jackson, and I went to a place called the Wilson Library, which is right near the clock tower there. And if you walk around the other side, over by the quad, this is what it looks like when you go in. A lovely building, and if you were standing on the steps there facing the other direction, you would see the quad. And so I went into the library, and the librarians pulled these books for me from the 19 teens and 1920s. And let's take a quick look at what some of them say about our good friend Andrew Jackson. So this first book is called Our Republic, and it's aimed for grammar school kids. And if you look down here, it says it is from 1918 and was published in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it talks about the meaning of Jackson's election. You can hit pause here and read this if you want. And he's untrained, and then it talks about the spoils system here, which we mentioned in class right before break. And then it talks a little bit about his cabinet, and there are people trying to get rid of slavery. They're called abolitionists right here. And there's a guy named William Lloyd Garrison, who we'll learn more about in 1831, who put together some anti-slavery ideas. And there's Nat Turner's slave revolt here also in 1831. But as we keep going through here, there is nothing about Native Americans at all. Nullification in the bank, nothing about Native Americans. And so I went on to another book, History of the American People, and this one is for high school students, and it was copyrighted most recently in 1926. And when we talk about Jackson, it talks about a revolution in American society, and again, you can hit pause and read this if you want, but Andrew Jackson dominated America for 12 years, and his control reached over into the administration of Van Buren. And so that would give him more blame for the Trail of Tears, which happened, as we talked about, in 1838 and 39. But as I looked through this book, it mentioned nothing about the Indian Removal Act or the Trail of Tears. And so I looked in the index because the Jackson period, there's even something about the gerrymander. Look at that. And there's the original gerrymander and sort of what politics looked like at the time. But there was nothing about Native Americans. One more page here. And so I looked in the index for Trail of Tears, and there's nothing. And so I figured surely there must be something about Indians. And if you look up Indians, they got moved east of the Mississippi on page 6. Some early references up through page 15. They're mentioned in a note about the Revolution, and they're mentioned in regard to the War of 1812, and that's it. And that is an example of historiography, what people in 1826 were thinking about. And I think that makes it so that putting Jackson on the $20 bill is a much easier call, because there's very little on the minus side if you don't look at what he did with Native Americans, because you're not looking at Native Americans. I even tried that term, Native Americans, and it was not, that's not used in this book. And then finally, from 1923, Charles and Mary Beard wrote something called History of the United States. And again, looking in their index, Indians are mentioned all of 3 times. So in the 20s, when Jackson got placed on the $20 bill, I don't think Native Americans were on people's minds, and so that didn't weigh into the debate about whether Jackson should be on the $20 bill or not.